Well, it didn't quite get to 90 degrees in New York today, but still an unseasonable stretch of warm weather has brought the fans out to Citi Field as the Mets conclude their opening series of the year. Fans young and old making their way out to the Home Run Apple and looking at all the Mets memorabilia in the Hall of Fame and Museum. It's Mets baseball at Citi Field. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Florida Marlins. Mets baseball on SNY is presented by Mitsubishi. And tonight's game is presented in HD by IOTV. Get your HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play the rubber game of their season-opening series against the Florida Marlins. The Mets have 5 rookies on their roster, and 3 of them made their Major League debuts last night, including a couple of pitchers. One, the 20-year-old Henry Mejia, the other, the 35-year-old Hisanori Takahashi.
You know, I was really excited to see Mejia. It was nice to watch him out there. He did get hit hard, though, but one of the things you love about him, he didn't lose his composure. He looked really comfortable out there, and I think that's one of the reasons they brought him up. Not only because he has that great stuff, but because he has that composure and able to deal with getting hit hard last night, although he only gave up 1 run. And of course, on the other spectrum, Takahashi, a 10-year veteran in the Japanese leagues, and he ended up getting the loss last night. But again, he didn't look like he lost his composure, just gave up a couple of hits to a very talented offensive team in the Marlins.
And then there was the other 20-year-old, Ruben Tejada, who pinch hit in the 9th, played an inning in the field, and tonight, Tejada, the 20-year-old from Panama, makes his first Major League start at shortstop.
Well, with the left-hander out there for the Marlins, he gets his first start, 20 years old. I was 20 years old in my first start back in 1974 at Candlestick Park. I know he's feeling jitters right now. It's good that he got that first at-bat under his belt. He'll get 4 at-bats tonight because he's a terrific fielder. He's not going to be taken out for defense. He can pick it. So he's going to get himself 4 or 5 at-bats tonight and kind of get loose and hopefully get his first Major League hit.
And yet another rookie takes the mound for the Mets tonight. You wouldn't think he's still a rookie after 9 starts the last 2 years, but Jonathan Neese, who hasn't thrown a pitch from the Citi Field mound since the gruesome sight of last August the 5th, will pitch tonight.
Well, you know what? When he had the injury where he tore the hamstring, just an awful thing to witness as we saw that game. But he worked extremely hard in the winter. And in fact, when they had the mini camp, they said that maybe he will not come with the team north. But he worked extremely hard, got to spring training, and was ready to go. And now elevated into the 3rd game. His importance is so important for this team as he starts here in the rubber game.
And he'll start against Nate Robertson, who makes his first start in his 2nd tour of duty with the Florida Marlins. So it's Neese against Robertson in the rubber game of the opening series. Mets and Marlins, all the action coming up on SNY. brought to you by Geico. By AT&T, a better 3G experience. By Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And by Census 2010. We're in the home stretch, and it's not too late. Fill out and mail back your census form today. Get your 2010 Mets tickets for opening week and other games throughout the season at Citi Field. Tickets start at $11. Call 718-507-TIXX or visit Mets.com now for your tickets. Jonathan Neese making his way in from the bullpen, ready to make his first start that counts since the hamstring injury that ended his season last year. First pitch is coming right up. Here's the Florida Marlins starting lineup, and Freddie Gonzalez running out the same unit other than his catcher. All 3 games in this series. Ronnie Polino gets the start against the lefty today. Last night, Hanley Ramirez, Jorge Cantu, Dan Uggla, the 3, 4, and 5 hitters, all hit home runs in the Marlins' 7-6 10-inning victory. And tonight they go up against 23-year-old Jonathan Neese.
Well, Jonathan Neese, a 7th-round pick in 2005 by the Mets from Defiance High School in Ohio. 39-32 in his minor league career, almost as many strikeouts to innings pitched, as opposed to some of the other young Mets pitchers that have come up. Had 552 innings in the minors and is poised now to make his debut.
And we'll take a look at the Metsies Lexus defense. Francoeur, you see the outfield assist. You know he's got a very strong arm. There's guys with better arms than Francoeur, but he's very accurate with that arm, and that's more important. You can have a cannon. Rocky Colavito comes to mind, had a great cannon for the Tigers and the Indians, but he didn't know where the heck it was going. But Francoeur is very accurate.
John Maine, who started last night, lasted 5 innings, allowed 4 runs, hoping for better in his next start. That'll be in Colorado. Tough pitch to make your next start, no matter who you are. Chris Coghlan will lead things off for Florida. Coghlan, last year's National League Rookie of the Year, 2 for 9 in this series. Marlins last night banged out 17 hits. Should have won the game in a walk, but their bullpen tried as hard as they possibly could to give the game away. But the Mets could not take advantage.
He left 13 men on base, too.
And because the Marlins were able to pull out that victory last night, Mr. Coughlin was the brunt of a lot of criticism and attack in a nice way from his teammates today for that
hand
grenade he threw into home.
Jeez, incoming.
Well, he made two rather poor throws. The first one was just poor. The second one was comically poor.
Well, to give him cut him a little slack, he is a third baseman by trade. And it's a little longer throw from third base, from the left field than from third to first.
1-1 to Coughlin. And Nice throws a cutter against the lefty, which is something I don't think we've seen before.
Good call, Gary. That is right away, going right to that little cutter of his to try to get some movement on that fastball. His fastball tends to be straight, coming out of the hand. You almost throw it like a football. It gets that little cut about 3-4 inches, and you saw Coughlin out in front of it.
A little tapper right back to Nice. Handles it cleanly, and Tatis has to stretch to get it for the first down of the night.
Marlin lineup that is stacked with right-hand hitters. Coughlin, the only lefty in the lineup. Is Robertson a left-hand hitter? Do we know?
I believe that Robertson is a left-hand hitter. No, actually, he's a right-hand hitter.
There you go. The thing about the Marlins, though, is that stacked with those right-handed hitters, but left-handed pitching traditionally has given them problems.
Yep, the big free-swinging ball club. There's Freddie Gonzalez. He had to go home and have a quick couple buffering on after that performance by his.
Hit hard past Tatis, and Cameron Maben has himself a base hit. He'll stop at first as Francoeur quickly to the ball. Last night, Maben ran on Francoeur and stretched a single into a double. And he's got himself a base hit his first time up tonight.
Starting to swing the bat a little better. I mean, he was just eaten alive on opening day by Johan Santana. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Swinging the bat better, going the other way.
Tatis getting the start at first base for the first time, with the Marlins starting a lefty after Mike Jacobs started the first two games. So here's Hanley Ramirez, who's 4 for 9 to begin the year, including a home run last night.
Maybe a stolen base threat. 81 stolen bases in his minor league career, which is over 3 seasons, 3.5.
That cutter for Nice has become his prime pitch against right-hand hitters, but he'll tell you his curveball is still #1 for him. But even if you're a curveball pitcher the way Nice is, do you want to establish your fastball early against a lineup that you haven't faced before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't care what kind of pitcher you are. Whether you're Jamie Moyer, if you come out in the beginning and aren't able to establish your fastball on the inside and outside part of the plate, it's going to be very difficult to get away with any kind of breaking pitch that you don't throw perfectly.
Maben at first with 1 out. Well, last year, Nice used his curveball less than he did when he first came up in 08. Small samples. But in the 3 starts that he made in 08, he threw his curveball 1 out of every 4 pitches. In the 5 starts he made last year, he threw it 1 out of every 6 pitches.
Well, his only problem with that curveball is that when you're in the minor leagues, as soon as they see that thing spinning, they can't wait to swing. In the major leagues, you have to prove to the hitters you can throw for a strike. And it's such a big curveball that sometimes he has a problem throwing it for a strike.
And now he's ahead on Hanley Ramirez 1-2. So let's see if he breaks it out here with 1 on and 1 out. And he comes inside with the fastball, and it's 2-2, 92 miles an hour. That's about where Nice will top out. Ramirez, last year's National League batting champion, 342 last year. 24 home runs. One of the true stars of the National League.
Staying with the fastball in on Ramirez.
And he just missed with it, 3-2.
Well, they'll put Maben in motion here.
It's interesting with Nice trying to adopt the plan that Santana had in the first game, and that is rushing Ramirez inside with fastballs.
Rod Barajas catching his 3rd straight game. And that cutter fouled off at the plate with Maben in motion.
Well, Jonathan Nice does not have a particularly great move to first base. He is very quick, though, to home plate. That's some of the ways that he's able to negate the running game. But Cameron Maben had a huge jump at first base going on first move from Jonathan.
See if he throws over here.
Be very careful if you're a young pitcher, though. Make sure you step over there, because umpires love to bang you with the balk early in your career to kind of let you know.
Saw a key balk in the game last night, one that we still haven't figured out, against Leo Nunez, that brought in the Mets' tying run in the 8th inning. Maybin's not running, and it's outside ball 4, and Ramirez works out a walk. So after Nice got ahead 1-2, he loses Hanley Ramirez, and he'll have to face Jorge Cantu with 2 men on. Here's your umpiring crew for tonight. Jeff Nelson calling the balls and strikes. James Hoy, Wally Bell, the crew chief, and then Laz Diaz, who hasn't played last night, is at third. And umpires very much in the news today in the wake of the comments by Joe West about the pace of the Yankee-Red Sox series. Called it pathetic and embarrassing and a disgrace to the game.
You should have been at this game, our game last night.
See, but last night was not about players playing too slow. It was mostly about ineptitude causing the game to go that long.
Well, I think the problem you have now is that the trips to the mound from the infielders and the catcher back and forth 100 times during the game has really made that a farce. At some point, the pitcher should not have to have that many visits.
1-1 to Cantu. But what about the appropriateness of an umpire being quoted as opposed to, operating within channels?
Well, it is Joe West.
Yes, it is. Cowboy Joe. He's a country western singer. He thinks he is.
Cantu swinging at the high fastball, 1-2. And I wonder whether he's going to get reprimanded for that.
Well, it's not the place of an umpire to come out and say it's a disgrace to the game. It's just that's not Joe's place. I'm sure he was frustrated. Joe was always one of those umpires. If he got a little bit ticked off, well, he'd run that right arm up and start calling strikes.
1-2, curveball misses low, 2-2. The other piece of that, of course, is that if you're an umpire and you want the game to go faster, the best thing you can do is call more strikes.
That's right, Frank Pulley. Frank Pulley would say, boys, 90 degrees out, 95, it's humid, swing the bats. Anything close at 1 inch off the plate, it's going to be a strike. It's pitcher's day.
Nice broke out the curveball on 1-2. Comes back with the fastball, and Cantu fouls it into Barajas' mitt for strike 3. So Nice has his first strikeout, 2 down in the inning.
Again, another cutter by Jonathan Nice here. It caught a lot of the middle of the plate. It's similar to a ball that Cantu hit for a home run last night, but just beat him to the spot.
Cantu is saying, how did I miss that? Right down Broadway. It happens. Can't get away with that for long.
So 2 out and 2 on. Now here's Dan Uggla.
This guy's a high ball hitter right here. You throw that little helicopter to Uggla, it's going to be sayonara.
Uggla homered last night, and he takes the curveball for ball 1.
Uggla's interesting. He's got those forearms much like Ron Say in our day, right, Keith? The kind of Popeye forearms.
He's a strong man, there's no question. Look at that upper body strength.
Well, they've got 2 rather diminutive sluggers in Uggla and Cody Ross. Both stand well under 6 feet, and yet can hit the ball a ton.
And physically, you have to look at a guy like Dan Uggla if you're a pitcher and recognize that he's got those powerful but kind of short arms. So it's very difficult to get inside on those kind of hitters. Bill Madlock comes to mind in our day.
1-1 to Uggla, and he leaves it outside with a fastball, 2-1. Greg Jeffries, very short on the play.
Yeah. Joe Morgan was a short, one of the great players of my generation.
And, of course, Jimmy Wynn.
Yes.
The toy cannon.
Got it.
2-1. Hit hard down to third. Off the glove of right and into left field. Maybin will score easily. Ramirez heads for third. Base throw goes to second. That keeps Uggla at first. But the Marlins have a run on the board as Wright couldn't quite make the backhand play. And Uggla's base hit puts them up 1-0.
Tough chance for David here. Backhand. Just got on top of it. Tough play.
It's 2 balls on Keith. The Maybin ball that got past Tatis, who got a glove on it, and then this one past David. Really just defensively trying to knock that down.
Maybin's going to score easily. Nice hustling around the bag. Handley
And let's not overlook the play by Bay. Very smart, throwing that ball into second base, keeping Uggla from advancing.
Some left fielders might have been tempted to throw the ball to third on that play.
I'm a bit surprised that Freddie has Paulino batting in front of Cody Ross. I think I'd pitch Cody Ross sixth here.
It might be in deference to the fact that Ross is a little banged up. He's had that calf injury.
Just like I think, although Paulino has great power, Ross is a very dangerous RBI man, especially in 2 outs.
And Ross had 4 hits last night.
Because Paulino's going to clog the bases.
Bouncing ball to short. First chance for Tejada. Handles it cleanly, and the inning is over. But the Marlins, for the second straight night, put up a first inning run and lead it 1-0. Here's your Geico starting lineup for the Mets. A little different look tonight. Angel Pagan makes his first start of the year. So does Fernando Tatis. And the first start of the Major League career of Ruben Tejada, who hits 8th and plays shortstop, as the Mets go up against the veteran left-hander just reacquired from Detroit, Nate Robertson.
That's right. He began his career drafted by the Florida Marlins. Was traded for Mark Redmond in 2003 when the Marlins won it all. Redmond won 13 games for those Marlins that season. Probably the best season Robertson had was in 2006, of course, when the Tigers went to the World Series when he won 13 ball games.
Pitched pretty well in the postseason that year as well, as Angel Pagan takes ball one. Pagan's had 2 at-bats coming off the bench in the first 2 games of the season, but making his first start. Last year did a terrific job filling in center field and batting leadoff. Gary Matthews Jr. there made the first 2 starts of the year in center field. And I'm wondering, and I know it's been speculated in other quarters about the decision making in terms of Matthews getting the early playing time, whether the Mets are showcasing him for another team or exactly what's going on, because right now on this team as it's currently constituted, without Reyes and without Beltran, Pagan's the best center fielder and he's the best leadoff hitter.
But Matthews got on base 5 times in 2 games, so certainly did his part.
Well, I think Matthews is going to be here until Beltran comes back, and so you just can't, for that length of time, month and a half a season, the Pagan's got to get some activity in there too.
2-2 to Pagan, and he lifts one to center field. Cameron Maben standing his ground, and that's the first out.
And the Home Depot Marlins defense, what we got up today, 10 errors, second among NL second baseman. So this is a team, as we said, made over 100 errors last year. This is not a strong defensive ball club. Opening day, they made those 3 errors in 1 inning. Made an error last night. They had a double play they should have turned.
those things, they catch up to you.
Here's Luis Castillo. Good numbers against Robertson in his American League time. 7 for 20. They played in the same division when Louis was over in Minnesota. Castillo looking for his first hit of the year, 0 for 6. He's had a couple of right-handed at-bats.
Big cut.
Robertson gets even 1-1.
Louis came out of his shoes. Luis, I should say.
Couldn't have two opposite swings for a guy who is a switch hitter. His left-handed swing is kind of, plays pepper with the baseball, and his right-handed swing, at least till 2 strikes, is more of a bail and whale. Really, he's got a big swing.
So I'm hit a 3-run homer as a right-hand batter this spring. David Wright standing on deck.
Nate Robertson, basically a .500 pitcher those years with Detroit, starting back in 2003, 4.
Well, he was hurt a good portion of last year, missed 2 months. He had surgery to remove 4 small masses in his left elbow, and then came back late in the year. And he had been a relief pitcher early in the season, but he made 6 starts coming down the stretch for Detroit last year, and he was in a competition for the 5th starter job this spring. And when it looked like he was going to lose out, they traded him away. And that gave Dontrell Willis a chance to stay in the rotation for Detroit.
Well, they were trying to find something down the stretch because the Twins were catching them, and they ended up playing in the playoff game when Detroit kind of coughed up that lead late.
3-2 to Castillo. Hammered on the ground down to third for Cantu. And that's the second out of the inning. So Robertson has set down the first 2. And now David Wright will step in. David was 2 for 6 through the first 2 games of the year with a home run on opening day. Good look at the Acela Club. Wow.
Outstanding.
And last year, I don't think people were sitting outside on that terrace in front of the Acela Club this early in the year.
It's a nice night for a little Grenache.
For our,
I never thought that a game in Shea would end up having a sommelier.
For the 99% of the people listening, including myself, who don't know what Grenache is, could you please explain what that means?
Grenache is always a grape that they add to a Bordeaux or a Meritage. It's kind of a smooth, soft wine.
I'm glad I asked. You're like a walking onophile.
He is. Robert Parker has nothing on you, Keith.
Oh, yeah, right. Yes, we shipped Keith over to the Acela Club last year.
Almost didn't get it back, by the way.
Oh, why would he come back to us? We could, have fun with
absolutely
his friends out there.
That was a fun night, actually. I enjoyed that.
Robertson with a 2-2 to right. And David down swinging, so strong first inning for Nate Robertson. Strikes out David Wright, who normally eats up lefties. 1-0 Florida after 1. with you. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets game live or on demand on your computer. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Cody Ross leads off the second inning and takes a strike from Jonathan Neese.
89 miles an hour.
Cody Ross with 4 hits last night in the Marlins victory.
Quiet 4 hits.
No.
4 singles. Gosh, I didn't even realize that.
He didn't drive in a run, and he scored 1.
Wow.
That is a quiet 4 hits.
I didn't realize. I'll see my doctor.
Out to right field. And Francoeur puts it away as Neese got in on Ross. 1 out.
Talking about driving in runs. He had 6 runs last night. Did not drive in 1 with a RBI hit.
2 sacrifice flies, 2 bases loaded walks, a balk, and a run that scored on an error. That had never happened before in Mets history.
Crazy.
Most runs they'd ever scored in a game without an RBI hit was 4. But they got 6 last night, thanks in large part to the ineptitude of the Marlins bullpen. Here's Gabby Sanchez, who's 3 for 8 in the first 2 games. I liked Freddie Gonzalez's comment after the game. He said, "We've played 2 games and it feels like 140.
Yeah.
If he has to watch that bullpen pitch like that all year, he's going to get old in a hurry.
Can you imagine if we had the broadcaster?
Popped it up. Tejada retreating onto the grass. Now coming on is Pagan, and he makes the play. That's what Angel can do for you. Tejada very tentative going out after that ball, and Pagan just turned on the jets to make the play.
Well, Pagan, I told you, we thought about in spring. He's got excellent lateral movement. Look where he's at up here. A little 1 step back, and he can fly. And speed kills.
He pointed to the sky. That's a little difficult to see. Remember last season, first year at Citi Field, first couple of innings was very difficult early in the year.
Twilight sky. Nate Robertson did not have an at bat last year. He's 1 for 18 in his career. It's got to be awfully tough for an American League pitcher to come over here and hit after not swinging the bat in anger for a long period of time.
Just be heads up down the right field, the first base line for you fans.
I think it would be fun.
Oh, yeah,
you know, shoot. We could sit and not be able to hit.
One of the worst things of being traded to the American League late in my career was sitting on that bench.
And Neese fans Robertson on 3 pitches. Second strikeout for Neese, who sets him down 1-2-3 to keep it 1-0.
Now that's
Well, the Marlins will be traveling home after the game tonight for their home opener. They figured they'd be coming from cold weather here down to warm weather in Florida, but it has been remarkably unseasonable over the first 3 days of the season.
And as a player, I'm sure, even as a pitcher, pitcher's advantage to pitcher in cold weather. I'm sure, Ronnie, you'd agree with that.
Absolutely.
But as a hitter, to come up in warmth, open up in warmth, I can't remember. I could be wrong, but I never in my 17 years had a warm opening day. I had two that were snowed out. Cleveland, of course.
Jason Bay leads off the home second and takes inside from Robertson.
I will say I've had days when it's been nice, maybe in the first series, but not all 3 days to be beautiful.
Well, I think we'll get a little cooler weather over the weekend.
You have this weekend off, don't you?
I have Saturday and Sunday on.
Nice.
But you get the road trip off.
I do. No, not allowed in Colorado. That's your family town.
I got to see my grandson. I haven't seen him. New one.
Robertson working the inside corner, and it's 1-2. It's because you're older than us.
Yes. Don't forget it.
Hit hard, but right at Cantu for the first out.
Well, Bay is a high ball hitter. He's so quick. And you'll look at Cantu here. It's the hot corner. He's playing back. Hang with him. Bay's just got, you throw him a high fastball, he is so quick. Quick hands.
Jeff Francoeur hitting 5th in the order today. And he grounds one toward the middle of the diamond, and it sneaks through for a base hit. So Jeff Francoeur, the first base runner of the night for New York, his 3rd hit in 7 at-bats to start the season.
Let's not forget that Jerry Manuel has given Francoeur a green light this year, wants him to steal more bases. Jerry wants this club to take advantage of its speed.
Is it a bright green or is it more of a softer green?
Well,
the green light. I don't know if he wants him to take off too often, but I think a guy like Francoeur can surprise someone.
Do 15?
Yeah.
What you're saying is he has a green light unless he has a red light.
Yes.
And it was interesting with David Wright's stolen base last night and the comments that he had about his ideas behind the stolen base. And, of course, he did steal it, and they wound up walking Bay intentionally.
Which we figured they would.
Yes. Jerry had an interesting thing to say about it. He said he didn't have a problem with David going, but he can see that there's definitely an argument for him not to have gone. So
I think the question comes down to you have either Jason Bay and you need an extra base hit to get the run in, or you have Gary Matthews and you need a single to get the run in. So it's not I don't think it's 100% call either way.
No, agreed.
Well, I think what Jerry will have to do is in certain situations where you don't want them to steal, like that's a classic situation, you want Bay to swing the bat, you've got a red light. You got a stop signal from the third base coach not to steal.
2-1 to Tatis, and the breaking ball popped up. Ugla waiting for it to come down. And they're 2 away.
Because, the one thing you don't always know as a base runner is that you might be on first base. Jason Bay, let's say, is up in the same instance that we saw last night. And a guy like David who's running, trying to get a good time, he might not know that Jason Bay is 7 for 11 off this guy with 3 home runs. Right. So that's when you want, as a manager, to give the stop sign because you want Bay to have an at-bat against his pitcher.
Here's Ron Barajas, 2 for 8 through the first 2 games with a couple of RBIs. Jerry said today Henry Blanco will probably make his first start on Saturday, which will give him the assignment of catching Oliver Perez's first start of the year.
I thought Blanco was going to play tonight. 2 reasons. One is that Barajas caught an extra inning game. It was kind of a tedious affair. And also Henry's got very good numbers against Robertson. I believe he's 3 for 5.
You look around baseball, and I've been looking at box scores. Most managers have used their backup catcher in the first series of the year, but Jerry has decided to go the other way and establish Barajas, give him at least 4/5 of the rotation before he uses the backup. There was some talk during spring training that Blanco might catch Santana as his personal catcher, having caught him before in Minnesota, but that's clearly not happening early in the year.
Well, that's again why I thought he might play tonight. Blanco could play tonight. Barajas could play Friday and Saturday. Maybe Blanco getting Santana on Sunday, but,
Well, so far Barajas has looked very good swinging the bat, and that I think is part of the consideration as well.
Well,
As Ronnie said, Barajas does not get cheated.
It's this one off the end of the bat. Maven started back. Now he's going to race in, and it falls for a hit. Francoeur stops at third. A pop fly single for Ron Barajas. And he's walking towards second base because there's nobody behind him, and now he's chased back. Well, that ball came right off the end of the bat, and it completely fooled Maven.
Yeah, you can see Maven up top. Let's watch his break. And he broke back big time, 2-3 steps.
You know, just the opposite of Angel Pagan, who had one step back, stood his ground, and then speeded in. It almost looked like Maven ran back before he came back in.
It's a dark sky now here, and it's getting cloudy, and it looks to me that Maven has difficulty at judging the distance at balls hit right directly at him.
And it's also rather windy out there tonight, with the wind blowing out toward left, much as it did opening day. So here's Ruben Tejada with an opportunity early, his second big league at bat. And he takes the breaking ball in the outside corner from Robertson. Ruben Tejada last year in Double-A hit .289. Making his first major league start tonight at the age of 20.
Yeah, the most hits of any Met in spring training.
Hits it slowly on the ground down to Cantu, who gets the force play to end the inning. So the Mets get 2 hits and leave 2 through 2, 1-0 Florida. And they'll send up the top of the batting order against Jonathan Neese in the third. Neese allowed a run in the first inning, worked an 8-pitch, 1-2-3 second. And he'll take on Chris Coghlan starting the third inning.
Interesting if any of the Marlin hitters, especially concerning the injury that happened to Neese last year, try to take advantage and you put a bunt down.
Well, we saw Neese handle his position rather well during spring training, and he had a couple of tough plays to make. Covering at first base and reaching behind him, having to go behind the mound to field a difficult hop. And he seemed to handle it all with aplomb, which, you know, those could be the things that would test him.
And he is an athlete. I mean, very quick, former All-State soccer player.
Likes to show those socks, doesn't he?
That's right.
Always jacks up those pant legs.
1-2 to Coghlan, in on the hands and a foul ball. Well, Jerry Manuel was talking about it tonight. He said when he saw Neese at minicamp in January, he said he was still very tentative, and Jerry didn't think there was any way he'd be ready for opening day. But he came back a month later when pitchers and catchers reported, and he had seemingly gotten over all his trepidation. coming back from the injury. I mean, it was a terrible injury. I mean, he was in bed basically for 3 weeks after he had the surgery. He had the surgery the day after the injury. It was just horrible.
It was. We talked about it could have been career-threatening. Rear-ending.
And John has talked about the tremendous pain that he was in when he crumpled on the mound that day. I mean, he got hurt on the play at first base, but then that hamstring tendon completely tore when he tried to throw a warm-up pitch. And, you know, the Mets went through a lot last year in terms of injuries, crucial injuries and you know, important injuries, but there was nothing more gruesome than what happened to these. Line right at Castillo, goes high and grab it. Nicely done by Louis, one away.
Well, soft liner. Sometimes those soft liners, you jump too quick. Not Louis. I remember Bill Doran on Mookie Wilson in the 9th inning in Game 6 in Houston. Mookie hit that soft liner, and Bill Doran, the Gold Glover, jumped too quick, and it went right over off the tip of his glove. And well, then he scored on the with a leadoff triple, and I followed with the double, and boom! All of a sudden, it was 3-2. And we were on our way.
By the way, Billy Hatcher didn't cover a lot of ground in center field, did he?
Boy, he had a bad game.
That's what he gets for playing with the opposite field.
What's he supposed to do? Play as a dead pull hitter?
I pulled out Plan B on that one.
Cameron Maben hit a shot under Tatis for a base hit and scored the only run of this game. He lifts this one to right. A lot of room out there for Frank Core. And that's the second out.
The key in that game was to get Bob Nepper out of the game.
Yep. He couldn't close it, could he? It was a 3-hit shutout through 8, just dominating us.
And also the closer for the Astros, for whatever reason, the Mets players had his number.
Dave Smith, we killed him. Everybody else in the league, his ERA was below 2 or 2.50 and down, and us was over 5.
Their best relief pitcher in that series was probably Charlie Kerfoot.
Yes.
And he gave it up to Carter. That big hit. Was it Game 3 or 4? I forget.
Changeup misses to Hanley Ramirez. Hanley drew a walk his first time up. He's got ahead of him, but then lost him, and that set up the Marlins run. And now he falls behind him 2-0. Well, Hanley Ramirez has become one of the superstar players in the National League. And he is right near the top of every offensive category.
Just a terrific year last year. Batting champ, over 340. It's not easy.
24 home runs as well.
Yep.
And he walks for the second time, a 4-pitch walk. And so Ramirez is on, and Jorge Cantu will come up for the second time.
You know, Kevin had that interesting interview with Jonathan Neese last night's ball game, and Jonathan said he wasn't really thinking about anyone hurting him in the lineup, but so far, Hanley Ramirez is at the front of his mind.
Well, he got Cantu on strikes his first time up. Might have gotten away with a pitch on strike 3. Well, ball right down the middle. He starts him off with a fastball for a strike. There's a lot of opportunity in this Mets rotation for somebody to step forward and be the complement to Johan Santana. Down the right field line, a long one for Frank Core, but that ball will settle fair.
Yep.
Frank Core gave up on it thinking it was going to go foul, and now it's called a ground rule double, and that will cost the Marlins a run. They will send Ramirez back to third base.
Home plate umpire is going to, Jeff Nelson's going to call and going to say maybe he would have scored possibly.
Now they called, I believe, fan interference, and when they call fan interference, it's up to the umpires to place the runners. If the ball bounces into the stands, it's an automatic double, and they have no discretion. But if the ball is touched by a fan without it going into the stands, which appears to be the case here, it's fan interference, and the umpires can use their discretion.
That ball goes to the wall, and Ramirez scores.
And Ramirez was busting the whole way. That's why it's going to get him a run. No.
Put him in third, and now we'll get an argument from Freddie Gonzalez, who had a great angle on that ball. Meanwhile, Frank Core gave up on that, I think, thinking that ball was going foul, and it landed fair by a couple of feet.
I don't think he would have got to it.
Doesn't matter.
No, but just in terms of playing it.
I think what happens for an outfielder, once they realize they're not going to get to the ball, then what they really want to do is to start to break it down in case it takes one of those silly hops that they'll be prepared to go any way they want. Ramirez was busting it.
He didn't bust it real quick when it was first hit. But he would have scored.
He would have. I think
and they're going to talk some more here. Let's see.
This is not replayable by any means. See, it's a fair ball, and see the fan reaches out to touch it. It would not have gone into the stands otherwise.
I'm going to ask first base umpire James Hoy. He's going to ask him a question here. I mean, I think the run scores. Who's the crew chief here?
It's Wally Bell, and Wally is in the middle of that argument.
I mean, great break for the Mets and Jonathan East, a chance to get out of this inning. Okay, obviously the fan does touch it.
He was hitting that sidewall if he doesn't touch it, and it probably proceeds all the way into the corner.
Agreed.
Well, he's going to lose that argument here, Freddie Gonzalez.
So Ramirez will go back to third base, and the Mets, I think, get a big break there.
They sure do. Wow. Doug Harvey, where are you?
Well, you never want to ever pitch around a guy early in the game, but the hitter behind Dan Uggla is not the hitter that Uggla is, and Ronnie Paulino.
Ramirez at third and Cantu at second with 2 out. Uggla had a base hit off David Wright's glove to drive in the only run of this game, and Neese comes right after him with a fastball for a strike.
Boy, Ramirez came way down the third base line there to try to spook Neese, and he didn't. Neese throws a strike.
We saw this last season in Fenway Park with Andy Pettit in the stretch. Jacoby Ellsbury stole home because Andy in the stretch left-handed could not see the runner behind him.
And keeping that ball away from Uggla, it's 2-1. As Ronnie Paulino hitting 6th in the order on deck.
Oh, that would be the man I'd want to get out. Not Uggla. I'm sorry.
Not with this count, Keith. 2-1.
This is where we talked about earlier. If Ross was in that 6th hole, be a little different story.
All fastballs away to Uggla. Now it's 3-1. Down to third, and David Wright will make the throw across the diamond on a hop, and Tatis able to dig it out to save a run and end the inning. Tough hop for Tatis, and he stayed with it. And the Mets get a big break on the fan interference call and keep the Marlins off the board. Still 1-0.
A rubber game of this 3-game set between the Mets and the Marlins here at Citi Field. Temperatures dropping a little bit, getting pretty windy. Jonathan Neese making his first start of the season. So far, the Marlins up 1-0. Dan Ugla with the first inning RBI as we welcome you back to Citi Field. And guys referenced it earlier in the game. Not the prettiest game in the world last night with the Marlin bullpen basically handing it back to the Mets, for the Marlins eventually won in 10 innings. And I figured I'd go over and get Freddie Gonzalez's take today, the Marlins manager, and I asked him what he was thinking watching it all unfold on the bench. And guys, he said, we set baseball back 100 years with that performance last night.
That's great, yeah.
So what I followed up with is said, well, look, Freddie, obviously if your bullpen continues to do anything like that, it's going to be an issue. So, not now because it's just the first time through the rotation, but let's say a month from now, are you going to push pitchers? Are you going to rely on your starters and push them deep into games? And he said, in a word, yes, absolutely. He said, if you look at the numbers the last 2 years, I've done that to a degree. I believe in that. And I have pushed guys as Jonathan Neese goes down here for the first out of the bottom of the third. It was, last year, though, you have to remember, with Josh Johnson, they were kind of going up against it because he was so far past anything he had done before innings-wise. So this year they have a little bit more leeway there. He said, look, I think guys want to be out there. I think they can be out there. And the other thing is, he said, again, not last night because it's Ricky Nolasco's first time through and he was just out of gas. But he said when guys get into trouble late, they want to get out of it themselves. And he said, so I'm a firm believer, and especially if the bullpen does give the Marlins some trouble, Freddie Gonzalez ready and willing to have his starters go deep into games. So we'll see how that plays out as the year goes on. Guys, back to you.
Well, it certainly raises a larger question about, how you deal with starters versus the middle of your bullpen. I mean, especially in the case of a top of the rotation type starter like Nolasco, who's a number 2 guy, a solid number 2 guy. You rather have him getting that key out in the 7th or your 9th or 10th best pitcher? Pagan chasing the changeup, and it's 1-2.
They're trying to change that culture in some of the minor league systems, most notably Nolan Ryan and the Texas Rangers, where they're trying to do that in the minor leagues. Get these guys' pitch counts to $125, which should get them at least through 7.
Well, the way baseball has evolved, it used to be you could use 10 pitchers and, basically 4 of them only pitched in blowouts. Now you got 12 pitchers and they all pitch in leverage situations.
Well, I think the problem you have is you've decided, or the evolution of the game has come to a certain point where you said it, 8th, 9th, or 10th pitcher is getting meaningful outs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th innings. And when he doesn't come through, everyone's in an uproar and can't believe, this bullpen is not getting the job done, when really it is crucial outs that you're trying to get out by the 12th, 11th, 12th, and 13th pitcher on your staff. And I don't think it's a recipe for success, but the powers that be think that taking care of these starting pitchers is going to reduce injuries. I haven't seen it.
I don't like the way the bullpens are used today, like when they came in with Tony La Russa and Bobby Cox, where everybody throws like 1 inning and out, 1 inning and out, 1 inning and out.
Pagan hits one over short, and he's got himself a base hit. That's a good turn at bat for Angel Pagan. And he's got himself a 1-out single.
Well, Pagan can hit from both sides of the plate. The fastball just didn't get in enough. Good balance. I'll tell you what, he's come up large and elevated on my ratings system here. He's a better player than I originally thought. He's got a tremendous amount of talent. I'm talking about Pagan, and he impresses me with that bat. He can hit both sides of the plate.
Here's Castillo, who grounded to third his first time up, and he takes outside.
Getting back to that 1 inning running, I talked to Al Jackson, who's been pitching coach for the Mets for years in minor leagues, and Al just feels it's just the guys are up too much, and it's not so much what they pitch out here on the field. They throw 20 pitches on the field. It's they got to warm up. But they're warming up a lot out there in that bullpen because the pitchers aren't going deep. That wears a bullpen down as the season goes on.
Not only physically, Keith, but mentally. If you have to be on for 6 straight months because you know that you could be in any game every day all year long, There used to be a time that you'd have a guy like a Santana or a Halliday pitching, and you'd have guys in the bullpen doing their income taxes now here in April because they know they were not going to be in the game.
Well, we saw it on opening day. Jerry goes to Fernando Nieve and uses him for 2 innings. That's almost a novelty now. And certainly in a closer game, that probably wouldn't have happened. Castillo lofts one toward right center. Maben easing back. And that's the second out.
Keith, I think you made a perfect point. The point is the ball that's right at Maben has been kind of the troubling one. Anything in the gaps, he looks very good going after the baseball.
He just easy play to Del Monte Corn right there.
That's your first Del Monte this year. Very nice.
So now David Wright will bat with 2 out and a runner at first. And we'll see whether Pagan will try and steal a base here with 2 out.
Be inclined to let David swing. Don't get picked off. Don't run out. Don't want David leading off. Particularly the way he hits left-handers.
Robertson struck him out his first time up. And David fouls it back.
David is these first 3 games. He is over his tentativeness from last year. He is really ripping that bat.
That's what we saw all during spring training. Dribbled right in front of the plate. It's a fair ball for Polino, and that'll do it for the Mets in the bottom of the 3rd. So Robertson shutting the Mets out for the first 3. It's 1-0 Florida. Jonas Schwartz and Joe Beningo won't be afraid to share their opinions on tonight's John Neese debut against the Marlins as they take on the Daily News beat writers behind all the top New York sports stories on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, weekdays at 5 on SNY. Ronnie Polino leading off the 4th inning. Bounced into a force play his first time up. It'll be Polino, then Cody Ross and Gabby Sanchez, 6, 7, and 8 in the Florida batting order. Late on the fastball, and it's 1-2. There is an air of confidence about Jonathan Neese that I don't think we see as that ball's hit hard right over the bag. A fair ball. It hits the tarp and goes down the line. Or was it foul? Foul ball. Yes. The third base umpire, Les Diaz, appeared to signal fair.
Well, I see what he did.
Yeah, his arms went up.
You saw the left arm.
I saw the left arm, and the right arm was obscured.
Yep.
So there you go. Foul ball.
Lance is probably still tired from that fiasco last night. Did a squat through that mess.
I was going to say that Nice he's pitching with an air of confidence that I don't think we see a lot in the Mets rotation outside of Santana.
My word I would use is workmanlike. Gets the ball and throws it. There's no running around the mound. There's no scratching his head. There's no walking around. He just gets the ball, gets the sign, and let's go.
Lifted out to right center. Pagan streaking across, but he won't get this one, and it goes by him and all the way to the warning track. And that'll allow Polino to take second with a leadoff double. Not a good angle to the ball by Pagan, and it costs 2 bases.
Well, that ball just kind of sliced away from him, too, Gare. Tough play. A ball just slicing. And now watch this. He doesn't chase this ball down. That's 3 even with Polino's legs. That's nicely done.
The angle he took was his first thought was there's going to be a dive. I'm going to make a great play.
And
then once he realized he didn't have it, he
started tailing away from him.
Plan B.
So now Cody Ross with a runner at second and nobody out. 4 hits now for Florida. Ross flied to right his first time, and he fists one foul back into the screen.
Well, this is where the cutter for Jonathan Nice could work to his advantage. He could rush Ross in here, try to keep him from trying to hit the ball the other way to advance Polino.
Yeah, it's a good pitch on the outside. 0-2.
That was a ball to go the other way right there. It's easier up here. You're sitting down. You don't have to get up there in that box and have a split second to think about it.
You think it's easier to hit sitting down? Is that what you just said?
From a distance. From afar.
Off the fist right after the shortstop. And Tejada grabs it for the first out as Ross broke his bat.
That was a very impressive pitch sequence for Jonathan Nice right there.
Nice cutter in, then he painted him away and backed in with that cutter off the plate.
So Gabby Sanchez comes to bat with a runner at second and 1 out. Sanchez, who grew up in Miami, played college ball at the University of Miami.
The Marlins were his team.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the first generation of baseball player for whom the Marlins could be his team. Wright makes the play and throws out Sanchez for the second out. Davis' throws have been tailing. Is he dropping his arm? Is that what it is?
Got Hojo-itis. He's throwing sidearm. Watch, he drops sidearm and that ball's going to sink. He's got to come over the top. That was always Hojo's problem. We'll take a look here. It's come over the top. Watch, it comes sidearm and then the ball's going to run. It's going to tail down down the line and into the runner.
He has worked so hard on his throwing the last couple of years. So after the leadoff double, Nice has gotten the next 2 and now takes on the pitcher Robertson, and he takes a curveball for ball 1. Not a terrible pitch count for Nice, almost a 2-to-1 strike to ball ratio.
You know, it's interesting when you catch a ground ball, you don't have time to look at it sometimes, but most times I think the players come and they come with across the seams. You want to throw with the 4 seams so you have a straight throw. But even if you throw with 4 seams and you throw sidearm, Gary, it's going to sink.
Tejada moving to his left and throws out Robertson. So good job by Nice against the lower third after the leadoff double. Still 1-0 Florida.
Look at the wiffle ball field out beyond center field here at Citi Field. Here's your Toyota text poll for tonight. Who do you think will emerge as the Mets' #2 starter this season? It's an interesting question. Text 57508 or visit sny.tv to vote. A for Maine, B for Nice, C for Pelfrey, D for Ollie.
They should do like American Idol, have all the pitchers that are on the bench today go. C. Pick C.
Well, Jonathan Nice has certainly been impressive tonight. Allowed 1 run through the first 4 innings. Now the Mets will try and get up some support against Nate Robertson, who's making his first start since being reacquired by the Marlins.
Jonathan Nice has displayed and dropped off a few of his nice hooks tonight.
Bay lined out to third base his first time up. Jason 3 for 8 to start the season. It'll be Bay, then Francoeur and Tatis, as the Mets present 8 right-hand hitters against Nate Robertson. One thing that was very impressive last night as the Mets mounted their comeback. Sure, they had plenty of help from the Florida bullpen, but they were putting together good at bat after good at bat.
They would get down 0-2, 1-2 and fight to get a base on balls.
Toward the hole, handler Ramirez with a long throw, and he throws it away, and it stays in play, so Bay has to stay at first base. Sanchez goes over and slaps a tag just in case Bay took a turn, which he did not.
And this is the second game in a row where we've seen Ramirez field the ball on the outfield grass, and you cannot do that. You've got to go cut it off on the dirt. It's too long a throw. And there's another airmail. I'm lucky that wasn't another error. They've made an error in every ball game so far. 4 errors so far this season. And that's good for the diet.
Tacos? You eating tacos these days?
No, I'm not. Actually, I could. I just couldn't do the cheese. I could do the onions and the lettuce and the pork. But only one.
Should we run out and get you one?
No, I'm fine. I'm not hungry.
You got your snack-a-doodle-doo working over there.
He's got a fudge brownie today.
There you go.
That's my dessert, yes.
So an infield hit for Bay. The Mets have the tying run on base. And Jeff Francoeur, who had a base hit up the middle his first time up, takes the changeup for ball 1. I was talking with Jeff a little bit today. He said, I've got to learn, and he says, I'm doing a better job of it, that if I don't take those first pitch breaking balls and changeups, that I'm never going to see a fastball.
Well, there must be his inability to have a pitch recognition when the ball's out of the pitcher's hand for him to do that and not see the spin. I mean, it's a curveball. It's a tight spin of the red seams. You see Robertson's pitch count right now. Once a slider, it's a circle. So he must not be. We always see his eyes are wide open when he's swinging. A lot of close-ups last night, but he doesn't have good pitch recognition.
Has a 2-0 advantage here. And takes low and in, ball 3. Well, Francoeur has drawn a walk in each of the first 2 games. Could he walk in 3 straight games?
He had 11 total last season.
Fernando Tatis on deck as the Mets try and get something working here in the 4th. And Francoeur takes a strike. Oh, he thought he had ball 4. See, he's not used to ball 4.
See if Bay goes in motion here. Bay can steal some bases. Sneak a few. See if Jerry plays aggressive.
They had 13 steals last year for the Red Sox. Not going, and Francoeur fouls it off 3-2.
Sometimes your personality works against you in athletic endeavors. Jeff Francoeur is a very aggressive personality, a football kind of mentality, and hitting demands a lot of patience. And you have to have the ability to, sometimes you take a pitch that normally you would swing at to wait for a better one.
Bay runs. Francoeur hits it over the bag. That's a fair ball going down the line. Hits the tarp. Bay to third, being waved home by Chip Hill. Coughlin's throw goes to second, and the Mets have tied the game on an RBI double for Jeff Francoeur.
Well, got the count. 3-1. There's a little cutter. Oh, look at that, belt high. Too much plate. He just covered it. Just out of the reach of Cantu.
I don't know even if Hay would have scored in this if it had made it to the left field wall. Coach Carlin would have cut it off maybe. But that bounce off the tarp back onto the field, very much like the kind of bounce that it would take at Fenway Park, allowed Bay to score.
And great recognition by Chip Hale, the new third base coach, and an emphatic signal for Bay to go home, and that's really nice to see.
Well, it's always, Chip Hale has a very aggressive personality, and that's what you need for a third base coach.
Fernando Tatis takes low and in, and all of a sudden Robertson having trouble throwing strikes.
Well, watch Hale right here.
Watching the runner.
He comes down the line. Now he sees he's got it. Look at this. There you go. And watch out. Oh,
he spun himself right into the ground.
Oh, my goodness. Bring on the dancing bears. Chip.
Hey, you got the job done.
That's right. That'll make it in the video real later on today.
I'm going to have to give him a little bit.
He'll hear plenty about it, I'm sure. Tatis popped up his first time up. And Fernando trying to lay off that breaking ball, stop the swing in time. And it's 2-2. Still nobody out. Tatis at least trying to get Francoeur over to third, and Robertson misses low and in with a slider, and it's 3-2. Rod Barajas waiting on deck. Three and 2 to Tatis. And it's on the inside corner. Strike three call.
I believe a fastball in, RJ. Good pitch.
Slider down and in, and then just surprised him with a straight one right there at the waist.
Beautiful pitch.
Yep. Now, many of these Mets are getting their first look at Nate Robertson after he spent the last 7 years in the American League. Barajas, a guy who's seen him before. And a fly ball single to center his first time up. Now 5 for 15 against Robertson. And he takes low for ball one. Ruben Tejada on deck. And Barajas pops one up in foul ground. Sanchez coming over.
Oh, gosh, the bat boy.
Bat boy did a...
Can't do that, slugger. You got to get out. Come on.
He tried to bail, but he went the wrong way.
Yeah, he's doing. Oh, very poor judgment. Charlie, have a word with that young man.
Got to go down into the dugout.
Charles.
Not the other way. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Guys, we saw Fernando Tatis go down on strikes a moment ago. I talked to the Mets first baseman who's on the DL. That's Daniel Murphy earlier today, and he said that actually yesterday he turned a corner because yesterday was the first time he did certain movements that really gave him pain and felt no pains. That's a really good sign. He's doing a lot of weight work without any kind of brace on his knee. Next step for him is to run in the pool. If he does that okay, it'll be run the bases and probably playing a minor league game or two. He says he's being aggressive, and he hopes he could be back here that homestand when the Mets are back to take on the Cubs on April 19th sometime that week. So the good news is he's really feeling pretty good. So maybe Daniel Murphy not too far away, guys.
And Murphy's return will have an effect on the Mets batting order as well because Jerry's been hitting Mike Jacobs cleanup against right-handers. He will not do that with Murphy.
Well, one thing's for sure with Murph, and the Mets training staff is going to, and medical staff is going to have to pull the reins on him. He's going to want to come back. It's a twisted knee. When you're hitting, you twist that knee when you take your swing. You're going to be very careful not to bring him back too quick.
2-0 to Tejada with the pitcher on deck, and he hits the breaking ball foul. Of course, the other medical news is that Jose Reyes is playing in a Florida State League game for the St. Lucie Mets tonight. In fact, it's their opener. And if all goes well tonight, then Reyes should be activated on Saturday, which means that this could be the only starting assignment for Ruben Tejada, at least for the time being. Tejada heading to a fielder's choice his first time up.
Well, you'd have to think Tejada's going to get a little slider or cutter inside here with the pitcher up, Jonathan Neese, and a base open.
And he hits him with the pitch, and that'll fill the empty base. So Tejada's on base for the first time in his career in a painful fashion.
Even though the pitcher's up next, Ronnie, young hitter that with Double-A experience, I think Nate Robinson's probably a little angry at himself.
That hurts right there. That's right in the ribs, isn't it?
I never did any sit-ups. These guys do obliques and all that. That couldn't have hurt him.
2 out and 2 on, and now Neese, who struck out his first time up. Jonathan looking for his first big league RBI. He's 2 for 15 in his career. You wouldn't think so, but even though Neese started 3 games in 08 and 5 games last year, he is still a rookie. He's pitched fewer than 50 innings in his career, so he still has his rookie status. You can lose that rookie status based on at-bats, on innings, or on the amount of service time you have, and Neese did not go over any of those thresholds, so he's still technically a rookie. And battled Jason Hayward for Rookie of the Year honor.
Good luck with that.
2-0, and Robertson gets a benefit of a call from Jeff Nelson to make it 2-1.
Well, he's going to get a strike here, Jonathan, so let it fly.
A little low, and it's ball 3.
He was wrong. I thought that right there, Robertson's going to throw that one down the middle.
You give the pitcher a take sign here, Ronnie?
I would give Jonathan a take sign, yes.
I would too. Absolutely.
Angel Pagano had a base hit his last time up is on deck. On 3-1, Neese takes on the inside corner, 3-2. So now the runners will be in motion. Francoeur and Tejada getting set to take off, 3-2 and 2 down. And Neese hits one right in front of the plate. That's the second one we've seen tonight. David Wright did the same. Barajas fielding those 6-inch ground balls with no problem at all. Mets rounded a tie at 1-1. Every afternoon, visit SNY.TV for the latest baseball news, special features, scouting reports, and exclusive interviews on The Baseball Show presented by Harrah's. Every afternoon, only on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Here's your Delta 5th inning recap. Marlins got a run in the first on a Dan Uggla RBI single off Jonathan Neese. Mets tied it in the fourth on Jeff Francoeur's RBI double against Nate Robertson. But the Mets with nobody out, unable to get Francoeur around, and so it's a 1-1 game as we start the fifth. And Jonathan Neese starts his third time around the Marlins batting order.
big inning here for Jonathan Neese.
Chris Coughlin has been retired on a comebacker and a line drive to second. And Neese misses inside with the fastball, 1-0.
Well, they've been pounding Coughlin inside.
Coughlin fouls one back. Well, as Kevin Burkhardt noted last night, Chris Coughlin's brother is serving over in Iraq. And perhaps he is watching tonight because we are being carried around the world on the Armed Forces Television Network.
Hey, guys. You guys are great.
And a quick pitch, but was time called? That was strange. Neese kind of stutter-stepped, and they say no pitch.
What did Jeff Nelson do, the home plate umpire? He was pirouette.
Look at Neese. Look at how he comes out with the rubber here.
Well, that's the reason that Jeff Nelson called it off, because Coughlin tried to call time. Nelson wasn't going to give it to him. Then once Neese kind of double step there, he just called it a no pitch.
I mean, it was an illegal pitch, I guess, was the point.
But if you were a young guy, even if you were Rookie of the Year last year, you got to make sure that umpire gives you time first before you step out.
And the way the umpires are being asked to speed up the game, they are granting time less easily than they used to.
Good.
We saw it a number of times in that Yankee Red Sox series, especially with Angel Hernandez behind the plate.
Maybe they can put a penalty on if the pitching staff has too many walks.
What would you like that penalty to be?
Be like an automatic. You know, how would you penalize it? Let's speed up the game.
I think you should bring back the stocks. Ever go to old Williamsburg and see people in the stocks?
The stockades.
Should be an automatic. If you walk 9 guys, the whole bullpen got to go. It's going to get sent down to the minors.
Kind of do it like in European soccer. If you issue too many walks, you go down to a lower league.
There you go. Or at least get red flagged.
So Coughlin retired on a ground ball to Castillo, 1 out, and here's Cameron Maybin, who singled and scored the Marlins' only run of the first. And Maybin trying to bunt his way on, strike 1.
We've seen that every game. He's tried that at least once, hasn't he?
But an impressive showing by Jonathan Neese in his first start of the year. Just misses with that fastball, 1-1.
I like what I see. Very poised, and he's going to take his hard knocks. He's going to learn. Mr. Seaver took some lumps in his early years.
Well, he was just beginning to round into form before he got hurt last year.
Well, we saw that 12 out of 20 first pitch strikes. That's outstanding.
Jonathan Neese, just 23 years old, born the day the Mets won the 1986 World Series. To the hole, and Maybin's got himself a base hit. So Maybin is 2 for 3, and the Marlins have a 1-out base runner with Hanley Ramirez coming up.
I think as Maybin gets more playing time, they're going to have to start pounding him inside.
Well, Maybin spent the entire first game against Santana trying to pull and cost him 3 punch-outs. And ever since that, the second and third game, he's tried to go to right field with just about everything.
And Jim Presley, the hitting coach, I'm sure has a lot to do with that.
Well, Neese has been very careful with Hanley Ramirez so far tonight. Got ahead of him the first time and lost him to a walk, and then walked him on 4 pitches when he faced him with 2 out and nobody on in the third.
Ramirez is going to try to jump on this first pitch.
And he does, and he fouls it off.
Whenever you see a guy that at bat before, you can tell you're just standing in there waiting for a strike to be thrown, very patient. Got walked on 4 pitches. You know the next time up he's raring to go.
It's Jim Presley.
Played in Seattle, didn't he, most of his career?
Yes.
Third baseman. Maybe who can steal a base. And Neese checks in on him.
Wouldn't be a bad time for Neese, who's thrown mostly cutters and fastballs to Ramirez, to drop that good curveball as he goes the third time through the lineup.
And that is close to a balk move by Nice.
Well, if you're Ramirez right now, you're 0-1. You've got to hit. You've got to just go up the middle here.
Slide step by catcher Barajas.
Big lead. Good out. It's on the outside corner. 0-2 to Ramirez.
One thing you got to like about Nice is Cantu waits on deck. Not reticent about throwing strikes. There doesn't seem any fear in going right after these Marlin hitters.
Well, the only time he didn't was Ramirez's last at bat. But he's thrown him 2 strikes here on the outside part of the plate. See if he goes there again. Nope. Barajas moves inside and he strikes him out on 3 pitches. How about that?
He threw that fastball right by him.
3rd strikeout of the night.
Well, that was the most impressive of all. First pitch, just out of the strike zone, fouled off, and paints him away. A nice call by Barajas. Right inside, ties Ramirez up. The book on Ramirez now is inside.
All good hitters don't.
Yeah.
You don't want them to extend their hands.
So 2 out of the inning. See the out distribution for Nice. A little bit of everything tonight. Cantu, the batter, and a swing and a miss. 0-1. Cantu hit a fly ball double that bounced and was interfered with by a fan along the right field line. Ramirez was at first, and if not for the interference, he might have scored. The umpires talked about it, but decided not to allow Ramirez to score. And it cost the Marlins a run. Cutter low and in, 1-1.
Nice play by Rod Barajas.
Yes, Rod.
Not only to block it, but to see how like a cat got up.
He's looked like Galarraga at first base. You know, he's a big guy, lumbers around the bases, but watch the quickness here.
Turns that glove over.
Nice.
Short hops it, gets the body in front, pops up, ready to go in case Maven was trying to advance.
1-1 to Cantu. Same pitch, low and in, 2-1. Maven the go-ahead run at first with good speed with 2 outs. He's about to throw his 80th pitch of the night. Maven runs, and it's dribbled foul. 2-2. Let's go back to the 3rd inning, and Cantu's at bat with Ramirez at first.
Well, this was the call with interference by the fan, and I don't know if Francoeur was going to make that play cleanly. That ball didn't get to the wall. The umpires thought it wasn't, so he was stopped at 3rd base and wound up not scoring.
2-2 now to Cantu. Maven runs again, and the curveball fouled at the plate. Well, Maven's run on each of the last 2 pitches.
You know, as Jonathan gets more and more experience, be a nice move for him to work on that move where he step off and throw sidearm over there at first base. That'll be a move he can get Maven with, because that lead is too big.
Jorge Cantu, who has more runs batted in this ballpark than any visiting player. He's had 12 since the ballpark opened last year. Trying to get Maven home from first. He's running again, and Cantu hits one deep toward the gap in right center. Closing ground is Pagan, but he won't get there. It rolls to the wall, and Maven will score easily with the go-ahead run. Jorge Cantu puts another RBI on the board at Citi Field, and the Marlins lead 2-1.
Well, Gary, you just said it about the RBIs here with Cantu. Too much plate. He goes the other way. He got beat a little bit there. That's pretty good. Impressive strength, Ronnie. And it can't get to it. The big ballpark there, deepest part of the park, 415.
Now a couple of runs for Maven, and the Baker dozen for Mr. Cantu.
So a pair of doubles tonight for Cantu. He already has 4 extra base hits in this series. And now Dan Ugla, who drove in the first Florida run with a first inning single. 2-1 Marlins. And it's up and away for ball 1. And Barajas says, settle down to Jonathan Nice. That was the first pitch he's thrown that had a little agitation to it tonight. Broken bat fly ball, shallow left for Bay. And that'll do it for the Marlins, but they add a run on the Cantu RBI double halfway through, 2-1 Florida. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by the New York State Smokers Quit Line, by Mitsubishi, and by State Farm. Today's State Farm agent of the day is John Garfinkel of Brooklyn. Home fifth inning, third time around the batting order. Angel Pagan leads off and takes inside from Nate Robertson, who for the second time in this game has been staked to a one-run lead. Pagan singled to over shortstop his last time up, 1 for 2. And takes the off-speed pitch away, 2-0.
Third baseman Cantu plays very deep on right-handed hitting Pagan. Look how deep he is considering the speed that Pagan has.
19 batters, only 7 first pitch strikes for Robertson, and Pagan takes a rip and fouls it back.
Good cut.
So he hasn't necessarily been working ahead in the count, but he's had the ability to keep most of the Mets off balance tonight. See the pitch count up to 77 with nobody out in the fifth. Hit to center field. Maven standing his ground. 1 away.
Played Pagan very shallow right there, didn't he?
So 1 away now, Luis Castillo, who sent Maven back in right center to catch his fly ball his last time up. Luis still looking for his first hit of the year, 0 for 8 to start the season. The Mets welcome in the Nationals tomorrow night. The Nats finally got a win today. Got a run in the 7th on a bloop double by Ryan Zimmerman off Nelson Figueroa, who took the loss for the Phillies 6-5. First loss for Philadelphia. 1-1 to Castillo. Mike Pelfrey makes his first start of the year tomorrow for the Mets, and Garrett Mock will go for the Nats.
That's the guy you like, right, Keith? Garrett Mock?
He's a big horse out there. He throws hard, and he's one of those diamonds in the rough. He's a little bit wild.
He's got a big overhand curveball too, doesn't he?
Yep.
Well, the Nats pitching staff has given up 24 runs over the first 3 games this year. They could use a well-pitched game. Then they've got their ace John Lannon going Saturday. And then Livan Hernandez pitches against Johan Santana here on Sunday.
Wow.
Livan is not actually on the roster right now. They've kept him down so they could carry an extra relief pitcher until they need him on Sunday.
2-2 to Castillo with David Wright on deck. Slowly hit. Sanchez coming in. Slow to cover Robertson, and Castillo's safe at first.
He had to feed that ball to his pitcher.
Pitcher wasn't going to get there.
But he wasn't either.
He had two problems there. He didn't feed it to the pitcher, and secondly, the pitcher's got to get out of the way.
Pitcher's got the momentum. He beats him. He's out.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
That's a play you work on in spring training. If the pitcher can't get it, just toss it to him.
It's the one time that you don't mind a guy diving into first base on a play like that.
And I'll have to say, his at-bats have been very good this series, but Kevin Sanchez's instincts around the first base bag are not very good.
Yes.
Or at least in this series, they're not very good.
So that's the first hit of the season for Luis Castillo, and the Mets have the tying run aboard with David Wright at the plate. And he takes inside. David has struck out and hit a 2-inch dribbler in front of home plate that Polino threw him out on.
I think that David's going to be set up opposite field here.
But Robertson keeps rushing him in, Keith, with the cutters.
Well, you got to pitch him in.
Well, again, Robertson finds himself behind 2-0. That's been a frequent state of affairs for him the last 2 innings. With Jason Bay waiting on deck. And Wright takes on the inside corner, 2-1.
David, that was a
borderline. That didn't have to be a strike.
That was a pitch the umpire gave the pitcher.
Look at those numbers against lefties last year, the best in the National League.
Can we get his career numbers up?
Pulled foul, 2-2.
Robertson's at his best. He throws that little nothing slider into righties, but you can't keep it fair.
He's just staying in, isn't he?
Yep.
Let's see if he pulls a little string here, a little changeup.
Yeah, sliders in and changeup away.
Polino moves away, but the throw to first, and Sanchez barely able to keep that in play.
Good Lord.
Well, we saw 2 of those in the opening game of the series. Coming inside again, and it's 3-2. So now you have to figure Castillo will run here with 1 out. Two to 1 Florida, 5th inning. 3-2 to Wright. Popped it up. Shallow center. Maven got a late start coming on, and he gets there as Castillo hustles back to first. 2 out.
Very interesting little Castillo not running there. David, he stayed in on David every pitch. I'm surprised.
Well, is that about 140 strikeouts last year?
I agree. I think that a manager at some point when you're especially down a run has to put that in the equation, doesn't he?
I just think this is not the same David as last year.
I agree.
I like the way he's swinging the bat.
I agree.
He has struck out twice so far in 9 at-bats this year. Here's Jason Bay with 2 out and Castillo still at first. Bay has scored the only Met run today after reaching on an infield single in the 4th. He's also lined out to 3rd.
Interesting how Nate Robertson, his 3rd time through the order, Ronnie, is pounding the right-handers in.
Missing high with a changeup, and it's 1-1.
His changeup has not been good. That's a pitch that if you're a hitter, you can just take. It's not been thrown at first strike.
Robertson, who began his career as a Marlin. He was a 5th-round draft pick in '99. Pitched for the Marlins in '02. They traded him away after just 6 appearances in that '02 season, and he'd been in Detroit ever since until the trade on March 30th as Bert Badenhop gets up in the Marlins bullpen.
Look at that long string in his glove, Ronnie. Is that legal? Was that legal in our day?
No, usually
they cut that.
Yeah, they make them cut that usually.
2-1 to Bay. Fouled away.
See Jason Bay's face. He knew he missed the pitch there.
Take a look at the Pittsburgh Paint overhead camera.
Bay getting very deep in that box, as deep as he can possibly get.
2-2 from Robertson. On the inside corner, strike 3 call.
So Bay is down looking. Robertson has his 4th strikeout, and the Marlins lead 2-1 after 5.
Came in a whole inning, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought that. Eight innings.
Things could get heated when Chris Carlin and Adam Shine share their thoughts on what to expect from Mike Pelfrey in tomorrow's matchup against the Nats as they debate all the day's top New York sports stories on Loudmouths, presented by Geico, weekdays at 6 p.m. only on SNY. And Ronnie Polino leads off the 6th inning with a hard shot into left field. And so the Marlins have their 7th hit off Jonathan Neese. Time for us to check in with the studio and Chris Carlin with the New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. So Tommy Hansen's given up a couple of home runs in that game. Did I just hear Chipper's got his first injury of the year?
That's what I heard.
After hitting the game-winning home run last night? I'm afraid that's a recurring theme for the Atlanta Braves.
And they need him in that lineup.
I love their pitching, though.
I like that young man they have in right field also.
Cody Ross 0 for 2, flied to right and broke his bat and lined out to short. Hits a slow ground ball. Right has to charge. His only play is to first. And he gets Ross as Polino moves up to second. So a runner in scoring position with 1 out. And the number 8 hitter, Gabby Sanchez, coming up. And what do you think? Is Nate Robertson done after 94 pitches and 5 innings in his first start of the year?
Is that him in the on-deck circle? I believe it is.
It is.
He is not done. I like that mustache.
Well, Freddie Gonzalez was talking with Kevin Burkhardt about pushing his starters. Maybe this is the first instance of that.
I think if you have a couple of runners on, you might see the bench for Freddie Gonzalez take a shot here to score some extra runs.
Sanchez 0 for 2. He shoots one out to right field. Frank Cora on the run. It's going to go over his head and up against the wall. That'll chase Polino home. And into second base is Gabby Sanchez with an opposite field RBI double. And it's now 3-1 Florida.
First ball, fastball hitting a couple times in this inning. Leadoff single by Polino, and now first ball, fastball hitting here by Gabby.
Sanchez really has a good idea at the plate what he's doing.
Yep.
More walks than strikeouts in the minor leagues.
Now they're going to pinch hit. Wow.
Brian Barton is going to come on to pinch hit for Robertson. So you called it, Ronnie. He was halfway up to the plate, and Freddie Gonzalez called him back.
They're trying to have a big inning here. All they need really is one more guy to get on, and then they get the top of the order coming.
But then they need to get 4 innings out of their bullpen.
Well, again, and after they've been,
Badenhop did not pitch last night. We know that he's a very capable pitcher. Tim Wood impressed me last night. I don't know about you guys.
Pinto, Veras, and Nunez were the 3 culprits in that Florida bullpen last night.
Guys, I asked Jerry Manuel today, if Jonathan Nice gets into trouble, what will you do? Will you pull him out in confidence, as he said, a good outing, or will you try and push him through it? And Jerry Manuel said, obviously, it depends on where he is during the game, pitch count situation, but he said, likely, middle of the game, around 90 pitches, I'll likely take him out. Here, he does the opposite. He's letting him stay in, try and work his way through this year.
Well, he's only at 89 pitches for the night. Down 3-1 now as he takes on the pinch hitter Brian Barden, who put in some time with the Cardinals last year. And first pitch swinging, hits it out to center where Pagan has it lined up. And going away, almost got away from him, but he makes the grab. That wind carrying the ball away from Pagan.
We showed that stat before as Pagan makes a nice play there at the end. Of all the first pitch strikes that Nice was throwing early in the game, it looks like this team, Florida Marlin team, has recognized that also, and they've come out swinging first pitch. A Sanchez double, and here the line drive from Barton.
4 batters in this inning, 5 pitches.
There you go. Paulino with the first hit on the first pitch.
This is Nice's last batter, no matter what result.
Because you have the right-hand hitters coming up behind Coghlan. So Robertson is done. Here's Coghlan, and he takes a strike. He's 0 for 3 on the night. A comebacker, a line out to second base, and a ground ball to second. Well, last night the Mets fell behind 6-1 before they rallied. Ryota Igarashi up in the Mets bullpen. Now they're down 3-1 in the 6th. And Nice runs it inside, 0-2.
Well, you think Coghlan would just say, okay, he's pounded me in my first 2 at-bats. I think I might want to look middle in first pitch. Just take a chance that maybe he might try to go back to that well again.
And you see the numbers on Robertson. Another ground ball to second for Castillo to handle. And that'll do it for the Marlins in the 6th inning. Jeff Francoeur already has a couple of hits tonight. He'll be leading off for the Mets when they come up in the bottom of the 6th. We're going to get something started against the Marlins bullpen, down 3-1. Kansas City Field as the 3-game series with the Nationals begins tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Tickets start at $11. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Jonathan Neese, through 6 innings, has allowed 3 runs and 8 hits. His work may be done for the night. Meanwhile, the Marlins go to their bullpen and bring in the right-hander Bert Badenhop.
So you see that record 7-4, but more importantly, in 38 career relief appearances, Badenhop has gone 20 times 2 innings or more. So he's the kind of guy that Gonzalez will go to try to get him to be the long man here in relief of Robertson.
Good night at the plate for Jeff Francoeur. Single to center, double down the left field line, and drove in the Mets' only run. So Jeff is 4 for 8 to start the season. And first pitch swinging, fouls off the fastball. It'll be Francoeur, then Tatis and Barajas. Last night, the Florida bullpen just imploded in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. They finally got a good outing out of Tim Wood, who got his first big league save. But look at that, 6 walks, throwing a hit batsman and a balk in 4 innings.
How do you throw Nunez in that? How many pitches did Nunez have?
Way too many.
Wood came in 1, 2, 3, and the 10th. I got to believe Wood's going to be, if they get into a save situation. I'm sure Freddie Gonzalez is hoping to get 2 out of this young man.
At least Nunez threw 40 pitches last night.
Yep.
0-2 to Francoeur, and he taps the slider on the ground to second. Ugla throws him out, 1 away. So it's the first time Francoeur's been retired tonight. And now Fernando Tatis. Well, the Mets played an all right-hand hitting lineup tonight against Nate Robertson, who went 5 innings, allowed a run on 6 hits, no walks, 4 strikeouts. So they've got a lefty-laden bench with Jacobs and Catalinato and Cora and the switch hitter Matthews. Tatis takes off the plate, ball 1. Fernando has popped to second and taken a called third strike, 0 for 2. Last year, Tatis tore up the Marlins. He hit 400 against Florida. But he hits a ground ball here down to third for Cantu to handle, and quickly there are 2 out.
Well, that's what Freddie Gonzalez wants.
Oh, I like this Badenhop. He's just one of those guys comes in, throws strikes. He's just funky enough, and also is very difficult on the right-handed hitters. Comes in and gets ground balls.
Here's Rod Barajas, 1 for 2. A pop fly single in the second. Fouled out in the 4th. Badenhop was one of the players that the Marlins acquired when they made that big deal with the Tigers a few years ago. They got Cameron Maben in that deal, Andrew Miller as well, when they sent Miguel Cabrera and Dontrell Willis to Detroit.
Dontrell has not started a game for Detroit yet, has he?
No, but he's going to be their 5th starter. That opened up when they traded Nate Robertson.
I'm happy for him. I know he's battled a lot of off-the-field kind of things to get back and do his job.
What a phenomenon he was when he first came up in 03.
Really was.
He was a Met killer, too. Swing the bat, he could run, all that enthusiasm, and boy, it just lost his confidence and just took a plunge.
Got in his head.
Barajas drives one out to right field, and Cody Ross ranging back to grab it to end the inning. So a 1-2-3 inning out of the bullpen for Bert Badenhop. Got the Mets out on 8 pitches. We go to the 7th, 3-1 Florida. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're in the car, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Next on the agenda, 3 with the Washington Nationals over the weekend. And to give a little taste of the Nats coming in, let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
I think one of the guys to watch, Gary, is going to be Ian Desmond, their young up-and-coming shortstop. Of course, won the job in the spring over Christian Guzman. And I got a scout's take on Desmond, and what he told me is, look, he's been a good fielder really since high school, but he will make mistakes. He will come in and backhand the ball and throw it into the seats. He'll do something like that. He is excellent coming in on the ball, and he said he will make the great play, but he is a little bit too aggressive at times. At the plate, Scout told me he's a big swing guy, got very good pop, but does have a lot of holes in his swing. Will strike out a ton. He gets in ruts where you get him out on the same pitch lot. Overall, the Scout said he's a good player, but a lot of holes in his game. And interesting about the defensive assessment, because the first 2 games, Desmond made 2 errors, was not in the starting lineup today. Christian Guzman started at short and had 2 hits as well. So kind of interesting, after naming him the starting shortstop, setting him down after the 2 errors, how the Nats react, Jim Riggleman putting him back in the lineup, and how Desmond reacts here at Citi Field this weekend, guys.
It'll be interesting to watch. And, of course, Ryan Zimmerman comes in after a game-winning hit today against the Phillies. And you see where Christian Guzman played yesterday? Mike Morris strained a calf, and Guzman went in and played right field. Yeah. Guy played shortstop exclusively in his big league career.
And Adam Dunn, the big power hitter.
Well, the Nats are an interesting team because, you know, their pitching could be iffy early, could be a lot better later in the year.
We got Pudge Rodriguez, 14-time an All-Star, 13 Gold Gloves.
Cameron Maybin leads off against Ryota Igarashi, making his major league debut. Igarashi, the hard thrower, has spent 11 years with the Colt Swallows, 30 years of age. And Ronnie, he struggled this spring, and I'm not quite sure what we can expect from Igarashi, but he's got a live arm.
He definitely has a live arm. I think he has a history of great success. 2004 in the Japanese League, he had 37 saves. I think what he's going to have to deal with, especially early, so even though these guys are 10 and 11-year vets in the Japanese League, they come here and listen. They know who Albert Pujols is. He knows all these great players, and there's nerves for these guys, albeit 10 and 11-year veterans. And I think that's the thing they have to deal with most. That and probably the size of the baseball are the 2 most difficult things for the Asian pitchers.
And the longer season. Japanese do not play nearly as long a season as almost like a minor league season.
130 games, right? And usually 5 games a week instead of 7. But the other thing that Igarashi had to deal with this spring is he came to camp as a hard-throwing pitcher, threw a fastball, splitter, and curveball. And very early in spring training, the Mets brain trust, as he walks Maybin to lead off, decided to take away his curve and have him throw a slider, which I thought was a very curious decision for a guy coming over and dealing with all the adjustments that a Japanese pitcher has to make just in the course of things, and now having to deal with a change in repertoire as well.
Yeah, I think it's something that probably was viewed by one of their Asian scouts, Japanese scouts, and decided that was the best thing that would make him more successful over here. But boy, to learn, try to learn the language, try to learn the culture, try to learn the baseball, which is larger here in the States than it is in Japan. Ball in Japan's a little softer. The feel for the baseball is a lot different.
It's interesting, guys, because I was talking to Igarashi the very last day of spring training, and that last week he actually started to get back to use his old curveball grip. He wasn't sure if he would use it in a game, but he just wasn't completely comfortable with the new grip and never felt he got comfortable in the spring. So watch tonight, see if he goes back and throws that old curveball here.
Mostly throwing fastballs and splitters here to start off Maybin and now Ramirez.
And he was he listened obviously on that first day when they changed him, but he just told me it just never felt right, and he said it never really got better as the spring went on. He just couldn't get used to it.
Hanley Ramirez has walked twice and struck out tonight, 0 for 1. And there's a good splitter, and it's 1-2.
You very rarely see a good splitter there, like you said, Gary. Very rarely see a pitcher who has both a good curveball and a good slider. Usually they have one or the other. Myself personally, I always had a curveball, never could learn a slider. Arm just did not work that way.
We saw a guy last night who could throw both.
Yes.
Ricky in Alaska.
That's why he's so successful.
Maben a fast man at first with nobody out. Up and in to Ramirez at 94, 2-2. And with that split and that velocity, I mean, he's got a chance to be successful.
Absolutely. I think what he needs to do, too, is just don't fall in love with the split finger. He throws hard enough. Doubling up inside, I think, is a good thing against Ramirez.
Tatis holding against Maben, who's been getting big leads all night. And Ramirez pulls one foul.
That was a split finger there, wasn't it, Keith?
Yes, something out in front. I think he left it up. I bet you he did. You can see the separation.
And a good one, what you'll get is a tumbling action, but that one looks more like his fastball. It has a lot of spin for it to be a split finger.
Good call, Ron. You're right.
Previous one he threw had a lot more downward movement. So
I will say one thing about the splitter is that what made it such a tough pitch is it looked like a fastball coming in, so it had to always be spinning.
2-2.
Hit hard to short, could be two. Tejada to Castillo and on to first. Double play, 2 men down.
Well, nice play. Kept his body in front. Perfect feed. Hit hard. Pitcher's best friend. Nice takeout by Maben. You could have really cleaned Louis' clock. Nice going, Louis. Hung in there nicely. Luis, excuse me.
You know what's interesting about Tejada, and Jerry was addressing his baseball instincts today, despite his young age. So there's not a rushing to his ability to play the game. That ball is a tough ball. He got it right in the breadbasket, but there wasn't that quick toss to second. He took his time, gave Louis a nice accurate throw, and that's why they had the double play.
And I think that's a great point, Ronnie, because even with some of the best young fielders who come up, and we saw this when Ray Ordonez came up, one of the greatest fielding shortstops I've ever seen, but that first year, he did rush like that.
It's like a hot potato. They can't wait to get rid of that baseball.
Well, we weren't concerned about the glove. And this ball's ripped, actually. And watch him stay in front. Use the body. Nicely done. All the way around. He's a really pleasant young man, too.
Yeah. He's 20 years old.
Trying to get rid of those puka shells.
Cantu pops one up. And Castillo with the angle makes the play to end the inning. So a good first inning in the big leagues for Ryota Igarashi. Still 3-1 Florida. Ryota Igarashi being debriefed by Dan Worthen along with his interpreter after his first big league inning. Here's tonight's AT&T trivia question. Before Hanley Ramirez, who's the last National League shortstop to win the batting title?
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, you got it already?
Yep. I think the team has the most batting champions of all in the National League or Major League, too. One of my favorite players is bald as a cucumber.
Bald as a cucumber? Ruben Tejada leads off. Takes a strike from Bert Badenhop as we start the bottom of the 7th. Tejada's hit into a fielder's choice and been hit by a pitch. 0 for 1. Frank Catalanato has come out on deck to bat for Ryota Igarashi. So a successful debut for Igarashi. And Kevin, we were talking about Igarashi and his adjustment in terms of his pitching, but you know, there's also, as we were mentioning, the cultural adjustment as Tejada strikes out. How, in your observation, has that been going for him?
You know, pretty well, Gary. And it's funny. I was my interest was piqued. He was eating a meal one day. I guess it was truly I guess you'd call it an American meal. There was a burger and a couple other things on his plate, and I went through his interpreter, Mike, and I was asking him, hey, what's the food like and what's his transition been like? And he actually said, honestly, I'm still getting to know the language, obviously. He can understand many things, but as far as the culture, he said it's no problem, because when he was on the Yakult Swallows about 10 years ago, they actually went to Yuma, Arizona for a spring training for a season. So they were in Arizona for about 3 weeks, interacted with some of the major league clubs, tasted the food. He said it really hasn't been that big of a transition for him, so I think that really helped him this spring. He always was comfortable. He has to obviously learn the language more, but he always seemed like he was comfortable in his own skin, and he says that experience was a big reason why.
Probably made it a little easier for him to make the decision to come over to the States.
You know what? They were very interested. I don't know if you noticed at the Welcome Home Met dinner when you were introducing the 2 Japanese pitchers that Takahashi stood up when you introduced Igarashi, and Igarashi stood up when you introduced Takahashi. So they're having fun with it so far.
Frank Catalanato slops one to shortstop where Hanley Ramirez is there. And quickly there are 2 out. Well, Bert Badenhop has been very impressive coming out of the bullpen for Florida. 5 up and 5 down with a minimum of effort. So now Angel Pagan will bat with 2 out and nobody on.
Completely different ballgame, isn't it, than last night? Was last night an aberration? I certainly hope so.
No, it's a whole different story when pitchers throw strikes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if they have games like that all year, if that's the norm, I'm going to quit.
You are.
Early buyout? Angel Pagan takes a strike. You just have to settle into a different career as a celebrity endorser. Pagan is 1 for 3. Single to left center in the 3rd. Lined out to center his last time up, and that backdoor breaking ball misses 1-1. And Isanori Takahashi is up in the Mets bullpen. Made his debut last night. And there's a strike, and it's 1-2 to Pagan.
Well, unlike Jonathan Neese's socks, these are really the stirrups that Mr. Badenhop has on.
I like them. They're a little low. Those are ankle chokers.
Ankle chokers. Throwbacks nonetheless.
He's got a nice little slider, a little back door.
He's got good stuff, I'm telling you.
Made a couple of starts for Florida last year, but has found a home in their bullpen. 2-2 to Pagan. Lifted down the left field side, foul. Pagan making his first start of the season. Jerry said before yesterday's game that he was going to give both of his center fielders a chance to play early and play consecutive games. So I guess that means you can expect to see Pagan in the lineup tomorrow night against Washington. And he lines one the other way, and Pagan has his 2nd hit of the night. Boy, he's become a good hitter.
He has.
Well, they talked in jargon today that, get the ball deeper. I can understand the jargon. It doesn't click in my brain because I was taught differently. Just the best way to hit the ball away. It's the only ball that you hit like a golf ball. straight between your body, right between your body, like a golf ball, is that outside pitch, particularly if it's anywhere in the outside corner block.
Big at bat here for Castillo, trying to get the tying runs on for right, so he tries to bunt his way on. Not a bad idea, and he fouls it off.
Well, we're going to see the pitch differential here. It's up and it's out of the strike zone, and he's a little out in front. But if we can have a side view, it would be wonderful. I can explain, and maybe we'll get another time.
We did get an IOTV pitch differential.
Oh, I forgot to put a caveat on that.
0-1 to Castillo. And he takes it low from Badenhop, 1-1. Louis tonight 1 for 3, had an infield singles last time up, his first hit of the year in 9 at-bats. Fast man at first and Pagan with 2 down. That's down by a deuce in the 7th. And a ground ball for Uggla to handle. And so Badenhop with 2 scoreless innings sends this game on to the 8th with the Marlins up 3-1. Last night it was the losing pitcher in the 10th inning gets his second crack at it. Well, up here we've given Keith a wide berth because he's about to grab a bat.
Well, I'm talking about when you hit a pitch away, and I said like a golfer hits right here. The only pitch away that you hit right is the outside pitch. You're in here and you hit it right here. Now it just stands to reason, as the ball comes closer to you, you've got to get out here with your bat. So you're going to hit the inside pitch here. You're going to fly those hips and hit it here, and then the ball down the middle, you can play it either way by either lagging the bat or coming over to pull. Now the ball away, if you're going to do this, you're going to play Pepper with the second baseman. If you hit it out here, you're reaching, playing Pepper with the second baseman. So the key is when you see someone drive the ball in the gap or down the left field line on an outside pitch, they always hit it, whether it's high or low. It's just boom, right here. You see the bats right here? That's the key. Very simple. Try it at home. I guarantee you'll get it.
Now, we provided you with a bat, and you declined to use the bat in your demonstration.
Because he was going to waffle me in the head.
Hey, it would have made for great ratings.
There you go. Good day off.
Sorry, Ronnie. Dan Uggla leads off in the 8th inning for Florida. Marlins leading 3-1. Uggla drove in a run with a first inning single. Mets tied the game in the 4th, but Florida regained the lead with runs in the 5th and 6th, and the Mets have been unable to respond. And Takahashi starts off with a fastball, 0-1.
That's a good move after getting Takahashi in the game yesterday, picking up the loss. Get him right back out there on the mound.
And the breaking ball popped up. Tatis coming in from first base to call and grabs it in fair territory to retire Uglo one away. Time to check in with Chris Carlin in the studio for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Johnny. Whoops, Johnny. Here's Ronnie Polino, who's 2 for 3, a single and a double, and he scored a run. And he attacks the first pitch from Takahashi and fouls off the fastball.
They got a nice platoon here, don't they, the Florida Marlins with their catchers? 2 different kind of players. Baker, of course, with that brilliant play he's made against Tatis.
Yeah, I'm not sure Polino makes that play.
Yeah, no.
Doesn't have quite the agility that Baker does. And we haven't really talked about it tonight as Tatis chases after that foul pop-up. But Fernando was really beating himself up last night about that play. And it's all true. I mean, he has to use discretion because David Wright's at the plate and the base is loaded. But Baker made a great play to throw him out.
You know, we tend to overlook that it took a perfect play, not only from Baker, but also from Veras, to be at the right place for that throw and just drop the glove on Fernando. And that was the only way we were going to get him. So, yes, so professional, Fernando, last night, saying that was his mistake. It's a play he shouldn't have made.
Polino cracks one to center, and back goes Pagan to grab it. Angel making it look easy, 2 out.
But it doesn't take away from the great play by John Baker.
Very athletic play right here by Baker. Nice.
There's maybe 2-3 catchers in baseball who make that play.
And, you know, Ronnie, you talk about that play, and you guys talking about Fernando, how upset he was with himself. But, you know, he said, look, I got a great jump. And then there was John Baker telling me on the field that I was in full panic mode. So, I mean, it just goes to show you the small percentage that had to happen for really him to be thrown out there.
There was like 4 or 5 things that had to go perfectly for John and Veras there to get Fernando, and it did.
I liked what Baker told you, Kevin, last night. He said, I don't even know what I did. I'm going to have to go watch the replay.
It's true. Let's not forget the Mets came back and tied that game. If that run scores, Wright is still hitting with men on base, second and third. So, you know, the Mets could have won that ball game.
By the way, Baker, a little bit of a gamer, guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
big time.
He had a game last night, that's for sure.
How about him sprinting after a foul pop-up in the 10th inning? Ball he didn't have any chance to catch. 0-2 to Cody Ross. And we've seen more of the repertoire from Takahashi tonight, not just the fastball and the screwball changeup, but also now the curveball. 8 pitches this inning, all strikes. Down to third base. David Wright takes the high hop. High throw, but Tatis stays on the bag, and so Takahashi with a nice bounce back throws a 1-2-3 inning. Mets need some runs. Wright and Bay coming up in the 8th. Let's give you the results of our Toyota text poll. This is interesting. Who do you think will emerge as the Mets' #2 starter? And a plurality for the guy who started tonight, who's made just 9 big league starts, Jonathan Neese. With Pelfrey a close second and Maine and Perez a distant third and fourth.
Although he's on the losing end, solid effort from Jonathan Neese this evening.
Quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs, 8 hits. But the Mets have done very little against Nate Robertson, and Burt Badenhop, who begins his 3rd inning of relief as David Wright leads off, and they continue to work David inside, 1-0. Wright is 0 for 3, struck out, dribbled one to the catcher, and flying to center. Jason Bay and Jeff Francoeur to follow. The Mets have their hitters up here in the 8th. And Wright takes a strike, 1-1. On the outside corner, boy, Badenhop just continues to impress.
Well, the scouts love guys that throw 95 miles an hour. Sometimes when you get a guy that throws strikes, has a little bit of movement, has an idea of what he's doing, just as effective.
Using both sides of the plate effectively. 88-mile-an-hour fastball, good slider. Dan Meyer, the left-hander.
Well, the Mets have that.
Tim Wood, the right-hander.
The overladen left-handed bench for the Mets tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4 men on the bench. That's what Meyer's going to be there for.
Down the right field line, slicing. And that goes foul. Still 2 and 2 to right.
Cora, Matthews, Catalanato already painted he's out. Jacobs. And the only right-hand hitter on the bench is Henri Blanco.
That's Hank White to you. Two and 2 to right. And he shoots one out to right field. Cody Ross closing ground. And he gets there, 1 away.
Well, he ran that fastball running right in on David's hands. And the book on David is going to continue to be in.
So 1 out and nobody on. And now Jason Bay, who's 1 for 3, had an infield hit and scored the only run for the Mets in the 4th inning. The Marlins have 8 hits. The Mets have 7. Florida took the lead in the 5th. And they've got great relief pitching for Burt Badenhop. Grounded down to third and can't do right in front of it. And quickly there are 2 out. Well, Badenhop's faced 9, retired 8. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night, we'll go into the Mets clubhouse for reaction. I can't believe the Jets would actually sign Jason Taylor. You know what a confusing state that would produce for Jet fans? And of course, Tiger at the Masters. All coming up on Geico Sports Night tonight. I mean, Jet fans have been rooting against the guy for 15 years.
That's right. When he was with the Dolphins, right? The Fish.
Francoeur is 2 for 3. And the slider missing away, 1-1.
With the free agency in football, all of football is very incestuous now, Gary.
How do you mean that?
Well, everyone goes all different places. There's no guys that spend their whole career in one place.
1 and 2 to Francoeur.
Oh, that was a hanger right there.
Takahashi keeping his arm loose in the dugout between innings. Is that a weighted ball?
Yeah.
Swing and a miss, and Francoeur down on the slider. What an impressive outing for Burt Badenhop. 3 scoreless innings, and we head to the 9th with the Marlins up 3-1. Let's answer our ATT trivia question, see if Keith was right. Before Hanley Ramirez, last National League shortstop to win the batting title?
Dick Grote.
Good call.
Very nice.
Dick, who, by the way, is still doing color commentary for University of Pittsburgh basketball. He was a great college basketball player at Duke.
Great athlete. And part of that 64 Cardinal championship team that beat the Yankees.
Gabby Sanchez leading off the ninth.
Was he a part of that Pirate team that beat the Yankees, too? Was he on that Pirates back?
In 60, yeah.
Yes.
That's when he won the MVP.
Right, that's right.
And the batting title. He beat out his teammate Don Hoke for the MVP that year. And Clemente didn't finish in the top 4.
Wow.
Willie Mays finished 3rd, and Ernie Banks 4th. Sanchez 1 for 3, doubled in a run in the 6th inning. Off the end of the bat foul. Of course, when Dick Grote was playing for Duke, they weren't winning national championships.
That's right.
That was an amazing basketball game on Monday night.
Sure was.
You know, occasionally you get those cliches that, you know, one team as Nunez gets up after last night's game.
Wow.
That's surprising.
You know, you hear all the time that, you know, that game was great because everyone, left it on the court. Well, they did.
Yeah.
Those young men just played as tough could play, and trying to get a shot off with everyone playing 100% on defense was fun to watch.
You know, when you watch college basketball, you generally see a lot of open threes.
Yeah.
I didn't see an open three that entire game.
Beautiful.
It was great defense.
1-2 to Sanchez, blown away. You saw Fernando Nieve up in the Mets bullpen in case Takahashi needs help here in the 9th, trying to keep the Mets within range. I'm very surprised to see Nunez up after 40 pitches last night. Are you guys?
Yes, absolutely. And I would stick with Baden-Hop unless Baden-Hop said he was done.
Well, they've got Wes Helms on deck to bat for Baden-Hop, but I thought that if they took Baden-Hop out, they'd go to Tim Wood, who looked so impressive last night in saving the game.
I think a lot of times get in these ruts of managing to saves and managing to win.
Two to Sanchez, and he takes it low and away. Another good at bat for Sanchez as he ignored that changeup.
And I'm not saying you don't go to Nunez. He's their closer. He's the guy that's going to get the majority of their saves this season. But he's coming off a 40 pitch effort.
Yeah, and not a good 40 pitch effort. Sanchez hooks one foul.
Sanchez again, Keith, with 2 strikes. He shortens up and keeps putting the ball in play until he gets something that he likes.
You know, they had him up last year at the start of the season, and he didn't hit. He got off to a bad start, and he struggled and got sent down. Well, this year, I mean, he's showing why the Marlins like him. I mean, he swung the bat good this series.
This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat from Takahashi. And Sanchez wastes another one away.
I think you're going to have to pitch him in too, Ryan.
Yeah.
He gets a little bit too happy in that right field.
Well, he drove one to right field his last time up to drive in a run.
Plus, he's also hit 3 or 4 balls hard that have been up in the strike zone. That tells me that maybe not here now with 3-2. You can take a couple of chances to trying to climb the ladder with him, see how high he'll go to chase the pitch up in the strike zone.
Again, the 3-2. Lifted in the air down the left field line over toward the stands and out of play. So Sanchez providing a passel of souvenirs.
Temperature's really dropped tonight, hasn't it? About 5, 6, 7 degrees.
It'll drop more tomorrow. We've run out of our early summer.
We have. Well, beautiful while it lasted. That's the best one of the first 3 games this season I've ever seen.
And ball 4, and so Sanchez with another tremendous at bat works out an 11-pitch walk to start the 9th inning. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by to let us know what's coming up on Lincoln Mercury Postgame Live.
Chris. So Jerry Manuel, after the leadoff walk to Sanchez, heads to the mound. He's got Fernando Nieve in the bullpen, and so for the third straight game, Nieve is going to come on and pitch. He's been terrific so far. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. We'll be right back. Yasunori Takahashi losing a battle to Gabby Sanchez, who drew a leadoff walk to start the ninth. So Fernando Nieve will come on for the third straight game.
Fernando on a pace to appear in 162 games this year. It's in the third game in a row. In face not only Helms, but of course after Coghlan, maybe the right-handed hitters that are coming up. Ramirez, Maben.
A little surprised to see Helms here. I thought we'd see somebody who would lay down a bunt with the Marlins up 3-1, but instead Helms up there to swing the bat.
Helms stepping out now, getting the signs from Joe Espada.
I mean, they have Emilio Bonifacio on the bench.
Yeah.
He could certainly go up there and lay down a bunt.
And he also can play third base if he needed to.
I have a fine hunch that he's going to do a flip-flop with the lineup and keep Helms at third base and move Cantu over to first.
But he could do the same with Bonifacio, who, might be more adept at getting a bunt down here.
How about a little hit and run?
6 or 7 or half a dozen of the other, right?
6 or 7 or half a dozen.
Or even 8. Pedro Feliciano up in the Mets bullpen. Last time we saw Helms, who was getting his fingernail across home plate with the winning run last night. Lifts this one to right for Frank Core. And that's the first out of the inning as Sanchez has to hold first. So one away, Chris Coghlan coming up, and we'll see whether Jerry goes to Feliciano against the lefty, or whether he sticks with Nieve, who's been just about perfect so far. Well, here comes Jerry.
Get used to it.
So Nieve gets his one batter, throws his 2 pitches, and he will take his exit. And Perpetual Pedro will come on for the Mets here in the ninth. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By American Airlines. We know why you fly. We're American Airlines. And by Subway. Eat fresh. Pedro Feliciano's on for his second appearance of the year. Pitched a hitless inning last night. And comes in here to face Chris Coghlan with 1 out and 1 on in the ninth, and the Marlins up 3-1. Coughlin's got 0 for 4 tonight, all against Jonathan Neese. 3 ground balls and a line drive to second. There is nobody up in the Mets bullpen, so it's Feliciano to finish the inning with Cameron Maybin, the right-hand hitter, on deck. And he falls behind Coghlan 2-0. Neese went 6 innings, allowed 3 runs and 8 hits. Ryota Igarashi worked a hitless 7th. Isanori Takahashi a 1-2-3-8, but then walked Sanchez leading off the 9th, and Fernando Nieve came on and got 1 out on a fly ball by Helms. So the Mets using their 3rd pitcher here in the 9th inning. 2-1 to Coghlan. Past the mound, Castillo runs it down, but can't get the ball away. And everybody's safe. It's an infield hit.
Well, ball up the hole. Nice hustling by Helms, and Louis I think he didn't get the handle.
I think the only chance he had here, Keith, with the speed was to flip it with his glove.
Well, let's see. I think he's fumbling. And once he fumbled with the ball, he didn't throw it. I think if he had it cleanly, he would have made the throw at least.
So Coghlan has an infield hit. Sanchez safe at second, and Cameron Maybin will step in to try and break this game open with the Marlins up 3-1. Maybin's had a good night at the plate. 2 opposite field singles, a walk. He scored 2 runs. 2 for 3. And takes a fastball for a strike. Marlins just 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position tonight. They had 17 hits last night. They have 9 more hits tonight. And this is obviously a huge batter with Hanley Ramirez looming on deck. In the bottom of the 9th, the Mets are scheduled to send up 6, 7, and 8. Tatis, Barajas, and Tejada. They had their big hitters up in the 8th, but Burke Badenhop took care of them. Good off-speed pitch by Feliciano, 0-2.
Nice.
Good change up there by Feliciano.
And that's a pitch that Pedro's worked on, and he's just really perfecting it, which gets a great weapon against righties.
Well, he has become so much more proficient at getting righties out, both with the changeup and with the cutter that he's been using.
I think that's why he said that he would like to have an opportunity to pitch in the 8th inning. Everyone's looking for an 8th inning guy to get the bridge to K-Rod. He said, well, what about me?
Well, the what about is that you have to have another situational lefty in order to do that, and the Mets thought about bringing Raul Valdez north, but they decided instead on Sean Green for the last spot in that bullpen. Back to Feliciano, who fields his position well. Tejada with a turn, and they do not get the speedy Maybin. Wow. Who just barely beats it out if he did. James Hoy with the call at first base.
That's some speed. This is Taylor May. Let's see. Nothing wasted. Oh, boy, I thought they had him.
Bang, bang play.
Bang, bang.
Wasn't that a Cher song?
Jerry Manuel out to argue. And he may get himself run.
Oh, that's a big out right there. Now you got to face Ramirez.
Jerry decides to stick around. There's another angle.
Let's see. Oh, he's safe. Absolutely. Good call. Good call. Wow, could he fly?
Yeah.
Well, Feliciano and Tejada both did their job, but Maben just flat out beat it, and that's huge because it provides Hanley Ramirez with a turn at bat here with first and third and 2 out. Hanley tonight has walked twice, struck out, and grounded into a double play.
But like last night with David Wright, with Jason Bayup, this would be a time I would put the stop sign on Maben. Have him stay at first base. Let Ramirez take an at-bat. Because if he steals, not that you'd intentionally walk him, but you could pitch around him.
Well, the defense deep and left. Jason shaded over. It's amazing how the right side of the outfield is to opposite field, but Bay is playing pull or straight up.
And Ramirez takes the changeup outside. Ramirez 1 for 3 in his career against Feliciano. We were talking last night about his average with 2 outs and runners in scoring position last year. Just phenomenal. And he's got another crack at that situation here.
One of the reasons he does that, he loves to shoot that ball to right field with 2 outs.
And he's got a big hole on that side with Castillo shading toward the middle. But Feliciano looks like he's going to make him go out of the strike zone with Cantu on deck.
Pick your poison, and I think my poison I'd pick would be Cantu.
Despite his 13 RBIs here at Citi Field.
There's a strike. Came to the inside corner with the fastball. 2-1. Sanchez at third. Maben at first with 2 down. Two and 1 to Ramirez. Off speed, hit past the mound. Castillo behind the bag. This time able to make the flip and gets Feliciano out of the inning. Now the Mets come to bat in the bottom of the ninth, down by 2 with Tatis, Barajas, and Tejada do up.
That was a nice play.
Tomorrow night, Mike Pelfrey takes the mound as the Mets start their series against Ryan Zimmerman and the Nationals here at Citi Field. Mets-Nats coverage begins with Subway pregame tomorrow at 6:30 only on SNY. Jorge Cantu moves over to play first base. Wes Helms stays in at third. And Leo Nunez back to the mound to try and save it for Florida in the ninth inning.
Fernando Tatis leads off, and it's in the air to deep left center field. Back goes Maybin onto the warning track, has room, and makes the catch at the wall.
Well, the big ballpark here at City. This is a big park. That's out in a lot of ballparks, Ronnie.
Most. So one pitch, Tatis makes a bid.
I thought
it's at almost 400 feet.
He crushed it. Just got too much hang time.
One out. Now Rod Barajas, who's 1 for 3 tonight. Mets have had 7 hits. Their only run came on a Jeff Francoeur RBI double in the 4th. They had Francoeur at second with nobody out, but couldn't get him in. Nunez, who walked 3 in an inning in the 3rd last night.
You just need a base runner here.
Barajas gets flipped. 2-0.
Dustin.
Tried to move that big body out of the way.
Well, he did it. You'd be surprised how quick he can move when that thing's coming to the chin.
Gary Matthews Jr. on deck to bat for Ruben Tejada. 2-0 now to Barajas. Mets need a base runner. And so he takes all the way, 2-1. Mike Jacobs in the hole with the pitcher spot 2 batters away. 3-1 Florida, last of the night. And it's ball 3. So Nunez, who struggled with his control last night, behind on Barajas, 3-1. Marlin pitchers have not walked a batter tonight.
Right down the pipe, Ronnie. Here, take a chance. Yeah, beat you.
They walked 9 last night. 3-1 to Barajas. And he gets under one to left field, playable for Coghlan. He steadies and grabs it, and now the Mets are down to their final out. Well, what the Mets need now is a bloop and a blast. They'll count on Gary Matthews Jr. for the bloop and hope Mike Jacobs can provide the blast. Matthews started the first 2 games of the season, went 2 for 6. Now comes up as a pinch hitter with the Mets down to their final out of the night.
Tell you what, if Matthews gets on and then Freddie Gonzalez, I know that's your closer out there, but you know Blanco on the bench is the only right-hand hitter. You bring in Jacobs, I'd be very tempted to bring in Meyer.
There's nobody up in the Florida bullpen, and Matthews takes a fastball for a strike.
Not like Nunez is Bruce Sutter out there. Eckersley, Rivera.
A quiet bullpen for Florida, so Freddie's sticking with Nunez. And Matthews fouls it off, and the Mets are down to their final strike.
40 pitches last night. Nunez throwing better tonight than he did last night. Rubber arm.
He's thrown just 8 pitches, 5 of them for strikes, and now he's 1 strike away from his first save of the year after blowing one in his first opportunity last night. Trying to save it for Nate Robertson. 0-2 to Matthews. Fouls it away. Goes to the mouth on the mound and wipes it on his pants. We now know he can do that.
Change up in the dirt.
Struck him out with a changeup, and the ball game is over. A 1-2-3 ninth for Leo Nunez. He saves it for Nate Robertson, and the Marlins take 2 out of 3 in the opening series for the Mets as they win it 3-1.
Well, the Mets 6-11 in rubber games last season and start off on the wrong foot here. Jonathan Neese with a fine effort, but he's on the losing end. And Nate Robertson, the starting pitcher for the Marlins, was good and solid, but really it was Burke Badenhop who came in and provided 3 innings of well-needed relief for this Marlins team. They punched out 9 hits, 3 runs, and that was enough against the Mets tonight.
Well, as you said, Ronnie, 9 hits for the Marlins. They scored first in the 5th and the 6th. So a good job by Neese. Well-played game compared to last night, but the Mets come out in the wrong end.
Last night, the Mets were able to come from 5 runs down to tie. Not able to come back tonight against Badenhop and Nunez in that Marlins bullpen. They provided 4 scoreless innings of relief. And so Florida wins it 3-1, takes 2 out of 3. We'll be right back to